Hello, lovely humans, and welcome to the space on the internet. So, like 3 months ago, I put a question thingy on the YouTube community page so that I could get some of your guys' questions about queer platonic relationships, or QPRs.
Woo!
And it's 3 months ago because YouTube's hard. Life is hard. But we're doing it now, and we're doing it together. And for those of you who don't know, we're in a QPR of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
So we're perfectly qualified to answer your questions. QPR qualified. So without further ado, let's answer some of your questions. I identify as queer, and my close friends are all of the LGBTQ plus variety. Many of us became friends before knowing we were queer too. Have queer friendships shaped your identity journey? Also, do people assume you're dating just because you're both queer? That's what happened to a lot of my friends and I.
I mean, I don't know about the last part.
Like, that people assumed we were dating?
Oh, well, yeah. Well, yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if the reason is because they thought we were both queer, but maybe. I don't really know what other people thought, but definitely.
I think we were just confusing to other people. It's been a while now, but when we had like a high school friend group, it was like, I think people thought we were together, and when we said we weren't, people were like, oh, okay.
Oh my god.
I don't really know. I feel like they eventually got the sense that we were kind of uncomfortable with the like dating inquiries. Eventually.
Yeah, eventually.
But yes,
while.
I do think people assumed. And I think people still assume. I work with kids and they ask about my boyfriend all the time, which is a bit weird. And I'm like, oh, you mean my friend Kaden that I live with? And have queer friendships shaped your identity journey?
Oh.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like, I don't know, I feel like the experiences were there before I knew you, for example. But I feel like we very much started putting words to life and words to feeling all very rapidly. It was like
Yeah, I think having queer friends created like a domino effect of self-realization and coming out.
What are some fun activities to do together in a queer platonic relationship? Love your videos. Thank you.
Well, we made a QPR date video where we went and got food and went to the beach.
Yeah.
Those are fun activities. We get lots of little treats.
I feel like we do a lot of things that people might consider like dates, but it's just kind of like, I mean, I think it's just like falls in that area where you're just hanging out with another person and doing cool, fun stuff.
What are the differences to friendship? And what are the differences to a normal relationship? Did you desire a QPR and seek out a partner, or just kind of slip into it? Looking forward to this video because I have never really understood QPRs.
Ooh.
Differences to friendship? I mean, up to
Yeah.
QPR relationship discretion, I think.
There's probably a spectrum of definition.
Yeah. As far as differences to a normal relationship, for me and us, I don't consider it like romantic by nature. I think that's kind of the bottom line.
I think that's part of what makes it like confusing.
Did we seek out a QPR or just kind of slip into it? Just kind of slipped into it. Very much.
Yeah, there was a certain point where we just realized, like, everyone thinks we're dating, but we're definitely not. But also, like, we're just really good friends. That was...
Pretty much. People just asked about it a lot to the point where we just ended up explaining QPRs without using the word QPR, and then the word QPR came along and it was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, not a romantic definition of a relationship, but like some form of partnership.
Yeah, and we were just, I guess, normal friends before.
Yeah, which doesn't feel like, I mean, feels like it's hard when you're trying to justify it to people when the only like comparison is a romantic relationship, because you're measuring it in levels of romance, and when romance isn't there to begin with, that doesn't mean you can't have relationships of like varying intimacy. It's just like you're on a different spectrum altogether. Is your QPR something that you kept between you guys first, or did you share it with others from the beginning? If someone, typically not from the queer community, asks you, are you single, how do you answer? It's a good question.
Did we keep it between us or share it?
It's kind of hard.
It's in limbo between having been shared and being under the radar.
I think there's not a lot of people that like we go in depth discussing this enough with, that we like explain the nitty gritty of like what it is to. And I feel like in passing most people don't just like immediately know what a QPR is. So like it creates a bit of a tricky situation trying to answer this question.
And then if someone asks you if you're single, how do you answer? I don't think I've ever been asked if I'm single.
Yeah, I don't know if it's been framed like that, but I think in essence it's like...
We talked about this the other day. Oh, because we clicked on like an Instagram ad for like an astrology quiz to do for fun. And it was just hitting me with question after question that I couldn't answer. It was like, what's your gender? Man, woman. And then it was like, okay, click one. And then it was like, are you single? Yes, no. And it's like...
It's just such a difficult question to answer because you know when it's being asked, it's in like a romantic context where it's like, there's not like an other. Because it's not like we're not pals, it's not like we're not a unit to some capacity, but not like a romantic couple. So,
Yeah.
like, saying single seems like too far one way, but like saying a couple has so much romantic connotation that it's like there's like a definition gray area.
Yeah, well,
Partner
it's like
in crime.
it's all contextual and based on like the effective definition, I guess, that you're going with, because we're both aromantic to begin with. Does it matter if we're single? No, because we don't want to be in a romantic situation with anyone who's asking, I guess out of interest. Not that that's happened in a while, because we're always together. We're like each other's shield for people asking if we're single, because they just assume we're together in some capacity.
Difficult to define. There's not like one word that encapsulates it, and it's just like, doesn't feel worthwhile to justify our relationship to random strangers. So it's kind of just like anything from single to partner to other human. Like, it depends who you're talking to, really.
Human being person plus other human being person.
Life partner pal.
This may sound stupid, but do you think QPRs are meant to stay only in the queer community, or they should be something that eventually more and more people consider? I've heard of straight female best friends being super close and committed to each other to the point people thought they were in a romantic relationship with each other when they were not. Do you think platonic love is taken more seriously in the queer community?
Well...
Not at large in the queer community, I don't think.
Yeah, I think...
That's why there's a bit of like aspec isolation, I think.
Yeah, it can be difficult when like a lot of identities can revolve around very specific types of attraction. So when you have like aspec people, there's sometimes can be a bit of a rift, but...
Yeah, I made a whole video essay talking about the phrase love is love as a representation of like queer activism and how it's a bit exclusionary. You can watch that if you want. So I don't know if platonic love is taken more seriously in the queer community. I mean, maybe.
I feel like it's more likely to be talked about. Like, it's just because like I don't know, I feel like people who are already queer and part of the queer community are maybe more open or just like maybe stumbled across related concepts before, so it might be easier, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Do we think that QPR should stay only in the queer community?
No.
No. I mean, kind of depends, like, because are people who identify as distinctly, like, not queer going to be interested in it? Because the idea of a queer platonic relationship is that it centers queerness in some way or another. So, like, is it something they're going to be interested in? I don't know. But if they are, I mean, I think that is kind of, like, being in the queer community. I don't know.
It's just, like, I guess it depends on, like, how popular it becomes. Because, like, I don't think there's any use or productive, like, reason to stop anybody from that. Like,
if you're in one, you're in one.
Yeah, anybody can foster relationship anarchy and like break down typical relationship stereotypes, and that's great, and that might often look like some form of a queer platonic relationship if you're defining what that looks like for yourself outside of what is expected.
I think it can come down to self-identification, because a lot of like relationship anarchists, even if they're like, say, straight and cisgender, might kind of identify with aromantic spectrum experiences, or polyamory itself is quite queer.
Yeah.
I mean, not for everybody, but...
No, not for everybody, but it's like the same thing. Like, people have like open relationships, and some people might just consider that still very like not, like they might not define that as queer. Yeah. But for some people that might be a very different, I don't know, that might relate to their identity in a very different way.
I think it's up to self-identification,
yeah.
That there should be no one barricading it, because why?
If it's what you want to do, like, there's no harm in doing it. It doesn't matter what your identity is. How did you initiate a QPR? Any advice on initiating one with someone who isn't aromantic and or asexual? We didn't really initiate it.
It was basically us gradually, like, taking turns coming out in different capacities until it was just something that I brought up as, like, another thing.
Yeah, we became so used to being like, oh, this is actually a thing.
Because we were just, like, really good friends for a while, to the point where we were realizing it was kind of suspicious. And then I was like, I'm asexual. And then I was like, wait, maybe I'm not asexual, maybe I'm aromantic. And then I was like, well, I'm actually both. And you were like, maybe I'm demisexual. I'm definitely demisexual, but also aro.
Yeah, we kind of hopped back and forth, but it was like, it was not like anything was wrong at any point. It was just like the definition we clarified.
Would you say it's justified to feel cheated on in a QPR, like when your queer-platonic partner enters a romantic or sexual relationship with someone else? And then, as a follow-up, would you say you'd have a right to negotiate the kinds of terms and conditions of your QPR? Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
This person does have a lot more context that I'm gonna leave out, so if this is you, you know your context. But, like, yeah, I think QPRs, if you're doing them non-monogamously, follow a lot of the same structures as any other kind of ethical non-monogamy, where everyone has to be informed and consenting.
Yeah, like QPRs aren't like a set structure of rules. Like, it's defined by the people involved. So like, if you're cool with like being in other relationships, that's cool. But like, it's entirely up to what you've discussed, and there's nothing like limiting you from setting boundaries in a QPR because they're defined by the people involved.
Yeah, I think the only reason QPR falls on like a blurry line in this case is because oftentimes in typical friendships, it's like you don't have the right per se to negotiate who someone else is friends with and in what capacity. Like, that's not a typical thing.
Yeah.
For someone to like cheat on in terms of friendships or be cheated on.
Yeah, like I can understand why this is like a question. I don't think it's this is a very good question.
But it just depends on the nature of your
because
QPR.
QPRs aren't necessarily any less significant than any other kind of relationship. Like, to somebody involved, it could have the same like significance and structure and rigidity of a romantic closed relationship for other people, and for some people they can be really flexible. So
yeah, I think you have the right to negotiate the terms and conditions of your relationship in any situation. That's all the questions we have time for on my camera roll. We might do a part 2, so if you want a part 2, because we have more questions, we didn't even get through I think half of them. So if you want more, comment down below. Otherwise,
yeah.
Bye! We'll see you next time in this space on the internet. Ka-chow!
Ciao. Number 95.